Dear viewers across the world, most welcome to my channel NAGA World Conflict Zone. Jerusalem, on verge of exploding tank to Israel's fire. Israeli riot police deploy water cannon during clashes with Palestine. Close to the Damascus gate on Sunday, April 18, 2021, who would light up a barbecue in the narrow, crowded streets of the Muslim quarter of the old city of Jerusalem in the middle of the day during Ramadan. This is the way some extremist Israeli settlers extended their greetings to Palestine Muslims in this blessed month. Israeli police also escalated their harassment, firing tear gas and stun grenades at Palestinians. One Israeli policeman was filmed beating up a Palestinian at the Damascus gate. Who stopped him? Nobody. Since the start of the Ramadan last week, Israeli police have routinely clashed with Palestinians in Jerusalem. It all kicked off with the Israeli decision to ban all sitting on the stairs at the main entrance to the Muslim quarter at the Damascus gate. This is a major gathering place for Palestinians on Ramadan evening. Restaurants on Palestine numbers have also exacerbated tension. Israel and Palestine is the great conflict area. But who will take the care? Nobody else. Israel allowed only 10,000 people to enter Jerusalem from West Bank, compared to many times that amount in recent years. On the first Friday in Ramadan, only 70,000 Muslims were able to pray at Al-Aqsa Mosque. Despite Israeli Hello claim that it allows freedom of worship in the city, it routinely restrictions number, and most Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza cannot go to Al-Aqsa. The Israeli authorities also decided to cut the wires to the loudspeaker at the mosque in yet another deliberately inflammatory move. This year is even tougher, and Israel has demanded that all Palestinians entering Jerusalem from the rest of the West Bank have to have been vaccinated against the coronavirus disease. Of course, if Israel had carried out its clear international legal and moral duty of vaccination Palestinians under its military rule, the story would be different. Ramadan used to be a time when Israel showed some degree of reverence and respect toward Palestinians. This custom is being torn up. As a result, Jerusalem is on the verge of exploding. What we have, therefore, is a highly combustible situation in this, the world's most combustible city, Jerusalem. Even a passing knowledge of the history of this great city tells us that small clashes can soon lead to a dangerous explosion. Firefighters have to be at the ready at all times and cannot afford to take holidays right now. The new US administrations and major European powers are watching from the sidelines. Three major bonfires are being lit. The first and perhaps most dangerous is that Israel is tearing up the delicate status quo that governs Al-Haram al-Sharif. For starters, it is allowing Jews to pray openly at the platform. They boast of this by broadcasting it on YouTube. This included the uber-racist Kahanist and newly elected member of the Knesset, Itamar Ben-Gvir. Status quo arrangement for the holy sites do not permit Jewish prayer on the platform. According to the agreement as acknowledged publicly even by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Al-Aram al-Sharif is exclusively a Muslim place of worship, which all Israeli prime ministers have accepted since 1967. Palestinian Muslims fear the Hebronization of Al-Haram al-Sharif, whereby the platform is divided into both a mosque and a synagogue with less access for Muslim. This is another dangerous path for Israel, because here is something problem between Israel and Palestine. In case of Al-Haram al-Sharif, this is what happened at the Ibrahim Mosque in Hebron. That was sensitive enough, but tampering with the status quo in Jerusalem escalated the situation a hundredfold. What makes it a difference this year is that no outside powers are saying anything. If this was happening in the days of John Kerry as U.S. Secretary of State, for example, he and his colleagues would be working the phones between Jordan, Israel and the Palestinian Authority to calm the tensions. The trouble is that Netanyahu and King Abdullah of the Jordans are no longer on speaking terms. Tensions between two have rarely been higher. The second bonfire is the serious attempt to bring about the mass eviction of Palestinians in key areas of Jerusalem. Since the last major evictions of Palestinians on 10 June 1967, Israel has managed to insert more than 220,000 Israeli settlers into the occupied East Jerusalem, but without the mass displacement of Palestinians. Much of this is happening in the shadow of the old city, notably in Sheikh Jarrah and Siloam. Settlers have used the Israeli legal system to obtain eviction order for dozens of Palestinian families. So in this case, if Israel and Palestine conflict going on, in future what will happen, nobody knows. Many of these families are even registered refugees who were given the land after the Nakba when Israel confiscated theirs. This legal system was designed to enable Israeli Jews to kick the Palestine and the settler groups. Are using this to the full, it may be slowed down with the appeals and the like, but ultimately it leads to one's destinations. Mass eviction of Palestine as a part of the broader plan to downscale the Palestinian presence in the city. The Israeli authorities have also ramped up home demolition in the Palestinian area of East Jerusalem. They can do this because they have denied more applications from Palestinians for building permits, meaning that Palestinians have no choice but to build without them. More than half of all the Palestinian homes in the city are built with no permit. The final bonfire is over Palestine elections. The Israeli government is determined not to allow any Palestinian political activities in East Jerusalem, even though Palestinian elections in Jerusalem were permitted under the Oslo Accord. Palestinians in East Jerusalem voted in 1996, 2005 and 2006. Even then, Israel compelled them to vote by post to indicate that they were voting from abroad. Of course, the Palestinian residents of the Jerusalem have no right to vote in Israeli general election, and now they may even be denied the right to vote for emaciated and semi-powerless body, that is the Palestinian authorities. What we have is highly combustible situations in this, the world's most combustible city, Jerusalem. Israeli forces have arrested Palestinians engaged in any form of electioneering, including 3 candidates who are planning to hold a news conference. All of this lead some to believe this will be an excuse for Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas to postpone the May 22nd legislative elections. This would delight the Israeli government, which has no desire to see Palestine democracy at work, especially if it means Hamas has a chance at a share of power. And that is why Israel is getting fair always. So if Hamas win, what will be in future? The Pyramids have taken over the firefighting. The Israeli authorities, instead of restraining extremist settler groups such as Elad and the Temple Mount Faithful, are actively pursuing their agendas. Do not be surprised, therefore, if full-scale riot returned to the street of extraordinary city. The world had better wake up. This is cherished by Chris Dale, is a director of London-based Council for Arab-British Understanding.